Hello, everyone. Crazy Gaby here, and we are going to talk about a Week 4 NFL mock draft. I know you guys are used to mock drafts before the season starts. Well, we are going to mock draft based on which players we would like to have in our weekly fantasy football league. Sites like Draft Day, you can draft a new team each and every week. You're not screwed by injuries. You're not held down by anything negative that might occur. This is the awesome part about it. We're going to take players based solely on their week 4 matchups. So here we go. We're off and running. DeMarco Murray and Jimmy Graham, two pretty par for the course plays there. Jimmy Graham, of course, because of positional scarcity, not a lot of tight ends that can even come close to matching his production on an average day. DeMarco Murray is the number 1 overall pick. I like that play. Murray is just getting fed the ball like crazy. Le'Veon Bell, another player who, given the matchup this week, you have to figure he is just going to run roughshod over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Le'Veon Bell, my actual pick for biggest surprise so far of the NFL season. I don't think it's particularly close, actually. He's basically come out of the gate screaming, 20 pounds lighter than he was actually last season. A lot of people may not realize that if they didn't watch many Steelers games, but he was sort of a plotter, kind of a fall-forward type guy. And right now, he is just lighting it up. Julio Jones coming off the board, so no surprise there. Calvin Johnson as well. Nothing really too far out of the ordinary here, and if I go ahead and pull this button down right there, it's actually going to show me the full names and the picks for everybody as we go along, so it will be useful in kind of looking back to see what's happening. Ahmad Bradshaw, a pretty interesting pick considering the matchup with Tennessee. He's not quite getting all the carries for his team right now, the Indianapolis Colts, but he is performing out of his mind. Looks like vintage Ahmad Bradshaw from about 3 or 4 years ago with the Giants. So my turn now. Jesus N. J. Kings took Andrew Luck. Not a bad pick at all given that matchup. Again, just a phenomenal opportunity for the Colts this weekend. They're always a team that puts up a lot of points. I'm going to look at running back again because running back is such a positional, such a position where you have so much scarcity. Scrolling down the list here, I see some guys that I like, but nobody I think that I'm willing to draft with my number 1 overall pick. I think I'm going to go to wideout, and I'm going to play it safe. I'm just going to take Antonio Brown, who's been an absolute monster this season, and I'm going to draft him to my team. So Antonio Brown going to be my selection there. The Tampa Bay secondary has looked god-awful as of late, so I think he is about as safe a pick as you can come by. Jordy Nelson getting taken by my boy Big Italy 42, Justin right there. No surprise. He then goes it and follows it up with Aaron Rodgers against Chicago, a team with a defense that is lacking, for lack of a better term. That's definitely understandable. I should probably take a look at quarterback at this point because I don't want to get locked out of a top option this week. So let's go ahead and see what's on the list here. Not too hot on any of these selections that are left. I like Jay Cutler, but I feel like he'll still be here maybe in 2 or 3 rounds when I want to think about taking one of these guys. I would normally like Drew Brees, but Drew Brees just hasn't been himself this year, and just over the course of his career, hasn't been the greatest away from Dallas. Probably going to pair Antonio Brown up with another wide receiver and go Dez Bryant. Against New Orleans, who's really struggled on defense as of late, I think that Dez Bryant could have another monster outing. So I'm pretty happy, pretty confident with these two being paired up together. Antonio Brown, Dez Bryant, pretty solid picks. Taking a look here at Reggie Wayne coming off the board. That's kind of an interesting pick. And waiting for B-Bonds MVP, actually Fantasy Drive to draft their selection. Wait. And I think the correct play here would probably be to go with, I was going to say a running back. There's quite a few good running backs left on the board. You can't be too worried. A guy like LaShawn McCoy, a guy like Matt Forte, even though they haven't really performed up to expectations so far this season, you can't be too concerned about it. You have to go with these big names eventually. And I think now that the top tier of wide receivers have been taken off the board, You've still got a couple of guys that maybe you would consider taking here, but all in all, you have to look at the running backs at this point over some of these tight end names, or sorry, over some of these wide receiver names. Jeremy Maclin has scored a touchdown in the first 3 weeks. The only wide receiver in football to do that so far. He's one of the most heavily targeted wide receivers, and that Chip Kelly offense is just absolutely perfect for wide receivers to have an opportunity. They move fast, a lot of possessions. Reggie Bush, an interesting choice there, but look, he's been great so far this season. Biden have been holding Joique Bell at bay. A lot of people felt like this was going to be Joique Bell's season, but so far it hasn't completely been the case. Lamar Miller, a decent option right there. You have to figure with No Sean Moreno out, he's going to continue to get the bulk of the work. And Qual 11X took Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham earlier. I have a feeling he won't be going a New Orleans Saints player again here, but your guess is as good as mine. We'll have to wait and see what happens. All right, goes with Mike Wallace, Miami wide receiver. Yep, I could definitely see Miami putting up some points this week, so I like Mike Wallace and what he's kind of become, more of a target monster than a lot of people figured he could be at any point in his career, so interesting selection there. And let's see who our friend Perfect Path takes there. Looks like he is chilling out, having himself a good old time, so I actually really like that. And I seem to be experiencing a moment of technical difficulties here. So pardon me for a second. And boom, we are back to drafting. My apologies about that, folks. Arian Foster taken off the board. You have to hope the hammy is feeling okay, the knee is feeling okay after this week. Kelvin Benjamin, interesting player. He's actually been one of the bigger surprises this season. Some might call him actually a wide receiver 1 this year. So look, it's early in the season, anything can happen, but you're certainly looking at him right now as a great investment if you manage to take him in your season-long leagues, or if you've had him in your daily leagues to start the season. Eddie Lacy next up off the board. It's interesting. Eddie Lacy been kind of a disappointment this year, but he's also faced some really tough defenses the first couple of weeks. So you could see him against Chicago this week getting back on track. Chicago had an extremely rough time of it so far this season. So you figure that their defense not going to be so great, and maybe the Packers get back to some ground and pound. Chris Ivory and Donald Brown, the next two off the board. That doesn't surprise me. Chris Ivory has been extremely gifted in the touches that he has had. He's always kind of been that way. And Donald Brown, an interesting play. If he gets 30-plus touches, north of 30 carries again, could absolutely be a steal this late in the draft, especially if he can actually do something a little more with it than what he did this last week, which was, I think, roughly 2 yards per carry. I need to look into getting a running back now. I don't love having to choose between Knile Davis or Jamaal Charles. You're just not sure who's going to be the starter at this point. You scroll down a little bit further. The waters are just a little muddy at this point when you get down this low. Difficult to kind of ascertain which of these backs you want on your roster. So I think I'm going to play it safe. I know it might not be the sexiest pick, but I'm just going to go with Pierre Thomas. I know that Pierre Thomas in PPR formats is at least going to get me something every time he gets on the field. He's probably not have as much upside as some of those other options that are listed there, but I've got a lot of upside built into my first two picks with Dez Bryant and Antonio Brown, so I'm confident just going with those two guys and then letting Pierre Thomas kind of be the glue that holds my my running back position together. Knile Davis, so Big Italy has no such reservations, takes Knile Davis off the board. And that's certainly a bold pick. If Jamaal Charles is back this week, Knile Davis probably sees next to no action. But listen, I understand the upside right there. If Knile Davis is the man this week, he's pretty much unquestionably a first-round pick who just went in the third round, the back end of the third round, actually. So probably going to actually take the same path here and use this cool player card. Charles Ankle is expected to participate when the team resumes practice on Thursday. I think I'm just going to go with it because maybe Jamal Charles is back this week and maybe he's feeling fine, and there's a lot of upside built into that pick. So, it's interesting. You know what? I'm just going to risk it. I like Jamal Charles too much, and Niall Davis going off the board. I don't really see anything else high upside I want. Most of the tight ends that I would consider targeting are off the board. Rob Gronkowski still not playing a ton of snaps, so we'll just have to see how this one falls out. Randall Cobb and Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles, an extraordinarily talented sleeper play that has kind of reared his head this year. A lot of people don't consider him to be, still as useful at this point in his career as he was early on, but he's kind of proving Father Time and everybody else wrong after a down campaign last year, coming back strong this season. So I absolutely love it. Martellus Bennett off the board, not a bad tight end grab there. C.J. Spiller as well, good running back grab there. Martellus Bennett is interesting because he seems to be Jay Cutler's favorite target right now with Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall dealing with injury. An extremely saucy option for these guys to get thrown to right now. Jay Cutler just feeling it as he tosses the pigskin around at this moment. Steve Smith Sr., actually, one of the most targeted wide receivers in the NFL. He's getting the job done with Baltimore at the moment. So very interesting pick there. Frank Gore, kind of a chalk pick. Nick Foles coming off the board, pretty interesting there. But you definitely can see Nick Foles putting up another excellent weekend with another high-scoring game. The Eagles should be in high-scoring affairs pretty much all week, or all year in each week they play. So gonna remain being excellent plays there. See who Qual 11X takes here. Brandon Marshall. Yeah, Brandon Marshall will probably play, but I believe he once again has the questionable tag listed next to him. So it will be interesting to see if he can operate back near full health again. It's a guy that when he is on the top of his game, he's one of the better players in the National Football League. But if he's ailing right now, that could end up being a pick that comes back to haunt Qual 11X. So we will just have to see. Philip Rivers off the board, a fine QB option. Taking a look now, looks like he's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 QB off the board. That sounds about right. You have to love the matchup with Jacksonville. So just an excellent opportunity for him. Matt Ryan off the board next, another quarterback that you figure is going to have a very strong outing. And I'm trying to formulate who I might take next. If Rob Gronkowski is still there, I'm definitely going to go with Gronkowski. Probably going to go Colin Kaepernick at QB if he's still around as well. Kaepernick, of course, has the great matchup, high-scoring affair with the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go is Colin Kaepernick here. Need a quarterback. Kaepernick, the 49ers, I believe, are like a 5-point favorite over top of the Eagles in this one. And then the last one's going to be tight end. Antonio Gates versus Jacksonville looks nice if Big Italy doesn't snipe him from me here. So that's likely the direction I'll be headed. Let's see who my homeboy, Big Italy, decides to go with. All right. Big Italy taking his good old time. Vincent Jackson off the board. Good matchup, but you got to figure he might be approaching the decline of his skill set, considering how badly he's been playing lately. And Fred Jackson comes off the board there. That leaves me with Antonio Gates, who I'm more than happy to take off the board here in the last round. And now we'll see how everyone cleans up with their last positional selections. Looks like Jesus in Kings needs a One more wide receiver, so I wonder who he's going to take off the board here. I'd say Keenan Allen probably a fine pick here against Jacksonville, even though he hasn't done much up until this point of the season. And you have to like Brandon Cooks as well. Looking like he's turning into Drew Brees' go-to target outside of Jimmy Graham, kind of overtaking Marcus Colston for that role. Ben Roethlisberger and Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson, always a high upside option, but comes with a lot of built-in volatility. Ben Roethlisberger, a fine quarterback option this week considering the matchup, so you have to love his chances. Nice quarterback to snag later in the draft. B-Bonds MVP, let's see who he goes with. Delanie Walker, I like it, very nice. Delanie Walker, an option with a lot of upside, as we saw in Week 2, a guy that could come out and really do some damage to the passing game. Jake Locker seems to like him a lot. Kenny Schlee, looks like he needs a wide receiver as well. That Keenan Allen pick still on the board, of course. T.Y. Hilton, Brandon Cooks among the top players there. Went with Keenan Allen. Yep, and I agree with that. I think that's a solid pick. Owen Daniels at tight end, taking over for the injured Dennis Pitta. Certainly a decent option given that matchup as well. And let's see, Perfect Path rounds it out with. He's going to need a tight end. There were a few interesting tight ends left on the board, so Travis Kelce could be the sleeper tight end here. Went chalk with Jason Witten, though, which is a fine play. And Qual Levinx got his tight end early, so he's looking for a final running back. Will be interesting. Maybe someone like a Lorenzen Talafaro or a Terrence West or Isaiah Crowell. Goes with Stephen Ridley. Okay, I could definitely see that pick working out for him down the road. And the last pick of the draft here, PDI Dog 82. So let's see what happens here. Looks like he needs a tight end. Or no, sorry, a wide receiver. So I'm going to say Brandon Cooks or T.Y. Hilton is coming off the board right here. One of those two for the final selection. The suspense is killing me. Who will be Mr. Irrelevant of this here draft? Suspense absolutely killing me. Gonna take us down to the wire before we get to see who it is. T.Y. Hilton. Okay, T.Y. Hilton coming off the board. Certainly a chalk pick there. And that is the end of the draft right there. Taking a look at the teams. I'm not going to say I came out ahead, but you know what? If Jamal Charles plays, I came out ahead. I love the lineups, though, guys. Very nice. Everyone did a great job. Thanks for the participation on everyone's part. And if you would like to be a part of one of these live mock drafts in the future, just go ahead and leave a comment below, and I would love to include you. We'll hook up on Twitter. I'll make sure I tweet out a link to you once we are good to go for the next one, and you can be a part of the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.